The Forgotten Plea. The twin moons of Kelis cast long shadows across first speaker Theron's face as he stood on the observatory platform. Behind him, the crystalline spires of Phytra City glimmered in the fading light, a testament to 5 millennia of Kalari civilization. Each tower contained thousands of knowledge crystals, records of art, science, philosophy, and history. All of it would be lost soon. The readings are confirmed then, Theron asked, his voice barely a whisper. Lead astronomer Lyri nodded, her silver-scaled skin reflecting the deep purple of the evening sky. The star's core has become unstable. The reaction is accelerating faster than our models predicted. She gestured to the display hovering between them. 11 cycles, perhaps 12 at most, before the radiation makes Kelis uninhabitable. Theron closed his inner eyelids, a sign of deep distress among his people. 11 cycles, barely enough time to evacuate even a fraction of their population of 6 billion. Summon the council, he said finally. We must decide quickly. The 7 speakers of Kelis gathered in the ancient Chamber of Voices, a circular room whose walls were embedded with resonance crystals that had recorded every major decision in their history. Today, they would record either their salvation or their extinction. We have no vessels capable of interstellar travel, Speaker Zalen reminded them. His domain was technology, and the limitations of their science weighed heavily on him. We focused our development inward, not outward. Then we must seek help, said Speaker Mira of Diplomacy. The collective of advanced worlds knows of our existence. We have traded knowledge with them before. They are bound by the protocol of non-interference, countered Speaker Sovan of Law. They observe developing worlds but rarely intervene. This is different, Theron argued. This is extinction. Surely they will make an exception. The debate continued through the night. By morning, they had reached a decision. They would send an emergency transmission to every known advanced civilization, pleading for evacuation assistance. The message was crafted carefully, a dignified request for mercy, not a desperate cry. They included star charts, population figures, and detailed scans of their dying sun. They offered what little they had, their knowledge, their art, their service, in exchange for salvation. For 30 days they waited. The responses, when they came, were polite but firm rejections. The Arcadian Concordance regretted that the resources required would destabilize their economic structure. The Vex Imperium explained that intervention would violate their principle of natural cosmic selection. The Mithran Alliance cited their policy of maintaining ecological equilibrium across star systems. One by one, the hopes of the Kalari dimmed. Their pleas reached 27 advanced civilizations capable of saving them. 27 declined. They've condemned us to death, Speaker Zalen said, his voice hollow as the council reconvened. All our achievements, our history, our potential, none of it matters to them. First Speaker Theron stared at the final message before them, their last hope. We have one option remaining, a broadcast on all frequencies, to all worlds, regardless of their development stage. To primitives, Speaker Sovan scoffed. What could pre-interstellar species possibly do? Die with dignity, Speaker Mira suggested quietly. At least we would be remembered by someone. And so, against all logic, they sent a final message, simpler, more direct, encoded in basic mathematical patterns that any species with radio technology might understand. A world is dying. 6 billion souls face extinction. If compassion exists among the stars, answer our call. The message traveled outward at the speed of light, passing the boundaries of known space into regions the Kalari had never explored. Most worlds that received it lacked the technology to understand it. Others understood but dismissed it as a hoax or a test. But on a blue-green world orbiting an unremarkable yellow star, a young researcher named Maya Patel bolted upright in her chair at the SETI listening station in New Mexico. Dr. Keyes, she called, her voice trembling with excitement. You need to see this signal. The aging director hurried over, adjusting his glasses as he leaned toward her screen. Another false positive. No, sir, Maya insisted, pointing to the pattern analysis. It's structured, complex, but with clear mathematical foundations. And look at these frequency shifts. They're consistent with an artificial source. Dr. Kai stared at the data, his skepticism slowly giving way to wonder. If this is real, it's real, Maya said firmly. And if I'm interpreting this correctly, it's a distress call. Within hours, the message had been forwarded to space agencies worldwide. Within days, it reached government leaders. Within a week, humanity, a species that had only recently taken its first tentative steps beyond its own atmosphere, faced an unprecedented moral question. Would they answer the call? In a hastily convened United Nations emergency session, representatives from Earth's nations debated the question. The challenges seemed insurmountable. Earth had no interstellar vessels. The technology existed only in theory. The resources required would strain the global economy. We're talking about diverting trillions of dollars from Earth's needs to attempt something that's never been done before, the economic secretary argued. For aliens we've never met. It's irrational. Admiral Chen of the International Space Coalition stood up. At 62, she had commanded Earth's first Mars base and helped establish the lunar colonies. With respect, what's irrational is receiving a cry for help and ignoring it because it's difficult to answer. No one is suggesting we ignore it, the secretary responded. But we must be realistic about our capabilities. 200 years ago, flying across an ocean in hours was impossible, Chen countered. 50 years ago, a permanent human presence in space was a dream. 10 years ago, we couldn't imagine the quantum drive. What's impossible is only what we haven't figured out yet. The debate raged for days. Scientists and engineers worked around the clock, developing theoretical models for long-distance space travel. The public, once informed of the signal, overwhelmingly supported action. Vigils were held in major cities. Children sent drawings of Earth welcoming alien refugees. Finally, a decision was reached. Humanity would attempt the impossible, to build its first interstellar vessel with the sole purpose of saving the dying alien civilization. The project was named Operation Lifeline. It would require global cooperation on an unprecedented scale. Nations that had been rivals pooled resources and expertise. Private companies donated technology and manufacturing capacity. Universities opened their research facilities. Millions volunteered their time and skills. The ESA Horizon was constructed in orbit, a massive vessel powered by an experimental quantum drive based on theories that had been considered fringe science just months earlier. Its mission was led by Commander Elena Santos, an astronaut with 20 years of experience in space operations. We're going to attempt something that's never been done before, Santos told her international crew of 40. We don't know if the drive will work beyond our solar system. We don't know what we'll find when we arrive. But we know that billions of lives depend on us trying. On July 17, 2089, the Horizon departed Earth's orbit. The quantum drive activated, creating a localized field that bent space-time around the vessel. As billions watched from Earth, the ship disappeared in a flash of blue light. The journey that should have taken centuries took just over 11 months. Every day was a struggle as the crew battled system failures, radiation exposure, and the psychological strain of being the first humans to travel so far from home. 3 crew members died when a power surge damaged the life support system. Another was lost during emergency repairs to the outer hull. But the Horizon persevered. When they finally emerged from quantum space near Kellis, they found a blue-green world orbiting a swollen, angry red star. The planet's twin moons guided them into orbit, where they sent a simple message to the surface. People of Kellis, we are from Earth. We received your call. We've come to help. For several minutes, there was no response. Then a transmission came through, first as mathematical sequences, then gradually resolving into words as their translation systems adapted. Unknown vessel, the voice said, its tone carrying what might have been disbelief even through the translation. Identify your civilization registry and alliance affiliation. Commander Santos glanced at Communications Officer Patul. Maya, the sane researcher who had first detected the signal on Earth. Maya nodded encouragingly. This is Commander Elena Santos of the Earth ship Horizon, she replied. We have no registry or alliance. We're just humans. We received your distress call 11 of our months ago. We've come to help evacuate your people. Another long pause. You came for us. The voice finally asked. You built an interstellar vessel to answer our call. Yes, Santos said simply. Why? What benefit does your species gain from this intervention? The question caught Santos off guard. She looked around at her crew, many of whom bore the scars of their difficult journey. Benefit? We gain knowing we didn't let an entire civilization die when we could help. The silence that followed lasted even longer. When the voice returned, it seemed somehow smaller, humbled. Commander Santos of Earth, said first speaker therein of Callus, please come to our world. There is much we need to discuss. The impossible rescue. Impossible, lead engineer Kira Novak declared, staring at the holographic projection showing the deteriorating Callan sun. Even with the Horizon's quantum drive modifications to their orbital shuttles, we can't evacuate 6 billion people before that star goes critical. The meeting room fell silent. 2 weeks had passed since first contact, and the Joint Human-Kalari Task Force had worked non-stop to develop an evacuation plan. The reality of their situation was becoming increasingly clear. Commander Santos looked around the table at the faces of her crew and their Kalari counterparts. Fatigue showed in all of them, but something else too, determination. We didn't come all this way to say impossible, Santos said firmly. We need to think differently. First speaker therein, who had been quiet throughout the discussion, finally spoke. The collective of advanced worlds told us the same thing, that saving everyone was impossible. That is why they refused to help. We're not them, Dr. Hiroshi Takeda, the Horizon's chief scientist, said. He had been studying Kalari technology since their arrival. Your crystal data storage systems, they're organic in nature, correct? Speaker Zalen nodded. Yes, our knowledge crystals contain neural patterns, living information. And your medical technology allows for complete neural scanning. Of course, said Mira. It is how we transfer memories to the knowledge crystals. A spark of excitement lit up Takeda's tired eyes. Commander, what if we don't need to physically transport 6 billion Kalari? What if we could transport their essence, unknown to the humans, and Kalari working together on the surface? They were being observed. In high orbit beyond Callus's moons, cloaked vessels monitored every transmission, every shuttle flight, every scan of the dying star. Fascinating, observed Senior Analyst Fox of the Arcadian Concordance. The humans continue to expend resources on a statistically hopeless scenario. They are young and do not understand cosmic balance, replied Observer Teth of the Mithran Alliance. Their interference may require correction. Not yet, cautioned Overseer Zilks of the Vex Imperium. This presents a unique opportunity to study primitive emotional response patterns. Let us observe how they react when faced with inevitable failure. But failure wasn't in Commander Santos' vocabulary. Over the next month, humans and Kalari worked together to merge their technologies in ways neither species had imagined possible. The Kalari's organic crystal matrices could store complete neural patterns, essentially, the entirety of a person's consciousness. The human's quantum field technology could transmit data across vast distances instantaneously. It's still going to be close, Maya Patel warned during a progress briefing. Even with compressed neural patterns, we'll need to expand the Horizon's data storage capacity by a factor of at least 1,000. What about the crystal towers? Suggested Lieutenant James Chin, who had spent considerable time studying Kalari architecture. Could we repurpose them as storage vessels? Speaker Zalen's eyes widened. The knowledge crystals. Yes, They could be adapted. We would need to transfer the existing data first, but we could build a relay system, Novak added, excitement building in her voice. Use the horizon as a quantum transmitter, beam the neural patterns to Earth, where they could be stored until we can grow new bodies. Dr. Takeda finished. The Kalari regenerative technology combined with human genetic engineering. It's theoretically possible. The plan was audacious, unprecedented, and filled with uncertainty. But it offered something precious: hope. As work accelerated, the cloaked observers became increasingly concerned. This violates all protocols, Vox insisted during an emergency conference. Neural transmission across interstellar distances, consciousness preservation outside biological forms. These technologies are restricted even among advanced worlds. The primitive humans do not understand the dangers, Teth agreed. If they succeed, it will disrupt the established order. Other endangered species might demand similar intervention. It is time to reveal ourselves, Zilks decided. For the greater cosmic balance, this experiment must end. 3 massive vessels decloaked in Callus orbit, just as the first neural transfer tests were being completed. Their appearance triggered immediate alarms throughout the human Kalari operation centers. "Commander," Maya called out, her voice tense, "3 unidentified vessels have appeared in orbit. They're enormous." Before Santos could respond, every communication screen in the facility activated simultaneously. The face that appeared was humanoid but clearly alien. Pale gray skin, elongated features, eyes that seemed to contain galaxies. "Humans of Earth," the being announced, its voice somehow both melodious and cold. "I am Overseer Zilks of the Vex Imperium, speaking on behalf of the collective of advanced worlds. Your interference in natural cosmic processes must cease immediately." Santos stepped forward. "We're preventing the extinction of an entire species. How is that interference?" "The lifespan of civilizations follows natural patterns," Zilks replied. "The Kalari have reached their endpoint, as countless species before them have. This is the way of the universe." "No," Santos said firmly. "That's the way of indifference masquerading as wisdom. You cannot comprehend the complexities." "We comprehend perfectly," Santos interrupted. "You could have saved them easily, but you chose not to because it wasn't convenient. You dress it up in philosophy, but it's just cold calculation." Zilks's expression didn't change, but something in those galaxy eyes hardened. "We have the power to stop your efforts. Your single vessel against our combined might would be insignificant." "Then why haven't you stopped us already?" Dr. Takeda asked, stepping beside Santos. "You've been watching us for weeks. Why the warning instead of simply acting?" A flicker of something, hesitation, crossed Zilks's face. "Because they're curious," First Speaker Theron said, joining the humans. "They want to understand why we act as we do, why we defy their logic." "Your primitive emotions cloud your judgment," Vox said, appearing on another screen. "Your effort will ultimately fail. The star's deterioration is accelerating beyond predicted models." Maya quickly checked her instruments, her face paling. "They're right, Commander. We have less time than we thought, perhaps only 3 weeks before critical radiation levels." Santos looked from the alien faces on the screens to her crew, to the Kalari who had placed their last hope in human hands. In that moment, she made a decision. "You're welcome to watch," she told the collective representatives. "But we're continuing. If you want to stop us, you'll have to do it by force, and explain to the rest of the galaxy why 3 of the most advanced civilizations felt threatened by one primitive species trying to save lives." For a long moment, no one spoke. Then, unexpectedly, the 3rd observer, Teth of the Mithran Alliance, leaned forward on their screen. "A question, Commander Santos," they said, their voice softer than the others. "If your positions were reversed, if it were Earth dying and Callus that received your call, would you expect them to risk everything as you have done?" Santos didn't hesitate. "I wouldn't expect it. I would hope for it. That's the difference between expectation and hope, between calculation and compassion. Another silence, longer this time. Then, to everyone's astonishment, Teth nodded. The Mithrin Alliance withdraws its objection to your efforts, they announced. Furthermore, we offer assistance. Teth. Zilks protested. This violates our agreement. Our agreement was based on the assumption that intervention was merely wasteful, Teth replied. I find myself reconsidering that assumption. What followed was unprecedented in galactic history. While the Vex Imperium maintained their opposition, the Mithran Alliance provided critical technologies that accelerated the neural transfer process. The Arcadian Concordance, after further observation, reluctantly contributed specialized field generators that strengthened the quantum transmission capabilities. The race against the dying star became a demonstration of what cooperation between species at different technological stages could accomplish. Human determination combined with Kalari knowledge and selective advanced technology from the collective created something entirely new. In the final days, as radiation levels began to make the planet's surface dangerous, the transfers accelerated. Millions of Kalari neural patterns were transmitted daily to Earth, where massive storage facilities had been constructed to receive them. The last group to be transferred included First Speaker therein and the Council of Seven, who had insisted on remaining until the end to oversee their people's evacuation. You have changed something fundamental in our understanding of advanced civilization, Theron told Santos as they prepared for the final transfer. We believed that progress inevitably led to emotional detachment, that calculation would always triumph over compassion. You have shown us another path. Maybe that's why we were the ones who answered, Santos suggested. Maybe the universe needed to be reminded that advancement doesn't have to mean losing what makes us people. 3 days later, the ESS Horizon departed Kalas orbit, its databanks containing the last neural patterns of the Kalari who couldn't be transmitted in time. Behind them, the angry red star began its final expansion. The collective vessels escorted the human ship to the edge of the system, where Overseer Zilks sent one final message. The collective will be watching Earth and its development with increased interest. Tell them they're welcome to visit, Santos replied, as long as they come as friends, not observers. The journey home took 9 months. By the time the Horizon reached Earth orbit, the first Kalari consciousness transfers to newly grown bodies had already begun. The impossible had been accomplished. 6 billion lives had been saved. More importantly, a new understanding had begun to spread among the stars. That compassion wasn't a primitive weakness to be outgrown, but a strength to be cherished across all stages of development. As humans and Kalari worked together to build a shared future, whispers spread through the galaxy of other endangered civilizations, sending their own calls for help. And increasingly, those calls were being answered not just by humans, but by members of the collective who had witnessed firsthand the power of mercy. When asked years later why humanity had risked everything for strangers, Commander Santos gave a response that would be recorded in the new Kalari crystal archives and studied by advanced civilizations across the galaxy. Because that's what people do. We answer the call.